Aye. Apparently, the 90s were 3 decades ago. Since that's a true fact that I can't change, it means I turned 35 back in May. According to y'all, I don't look it, but I promise you, I feel 42 sometimes. Where was I born? Warner Robins Air Force Base in Georgia. Both parents are Air Force veterans. I'm descended directly from slaves on my dad's side, and both Native Americans and slaves on my mom's side. So, when it comes to the completely made up checklist, some people like to qualify citizenship with, I'm more American than almost everybody who called me a hating immigrant in my last video. For those who are new here, that happened because I antagonized a collection of black people who refer to themselves as a lineage. The other groups we're going to touch on, the Black Hebrew Israelites and Nation of Islam, refer to themselves as a heritage or religion. But there's one word I prefer to use for all of the above. But first, there's a whole lot more than just a loud minority of a minority that care a lot about restricting and or reversing immigration, illegal or otherwise. Tried every Republican. That's Ted Cruz, a senator and failed presidential candidate from Texas, who's been in office for far too long. Let's see what he's talking about.
The Supreme Court's decision was a landmark decision today. The most important part of the ruling is that the Supreme Court, with a 6-3 vote, reined in the abuse of nationwide so-called universal injunctions.
Now, why was your boy Ted so excited about this? Well, it's directly tied to birthright citizenship.
And listen, birthright citizenship is a policy that doesn't make any sense. And what we have right now is it is a magnet for illegal immigration. The current law has been that if someone crosses over here illegally and they have a baby, that baby is automatically a U.S. citizen. That's not the case in most countries on earth, and it's bad policy.
Yeah, Rafael Cruz benefited directly from birthright citizenship back in 1970 when he was born in Canada to his Cuban father, Rafael, and mother, Eleanor, who's American. I call him an OG anchor baby, but he wasn't even born here. Bro, you squeaked through off a technicality. This probably isn't news to some of y'all, but I found it out while researching this video. When I heard the court was going to take this on back in May, I expected for them to vote directly on whether or not birthright citizenship is constitutional. That's what we expect in every case, but this time, they took a bigger swing. By limiting the scope of federal judges' decisions, they basically guaranteed that none of Trump's frequently unconstitutional executive orders can be stopped on a federal level without sending it to the Supreme Court. After July 27th, federal judges will only be able to reverse the effects on individual plaintiffs. Right before I made this video, a federal appeals court found his executive order unconstitutional. But like I just said, it's essentially a speed bump. I mean, we'll see if anything real happens from this, but I doubt it. Putting that in real terms, the executive order he issued that wipes out birthright citizenship can't be blocked across the country by any one judge. Most states are going to be affected by it, and most babies born to undocumented immigrant mothers or immigrants with temporary status aren't going to have citizenship. For those who claim to care about the Constitution and who heard that sentence and didn't see what the problem is, this order is in direct conflict with the 14th Amendment. Your boy is picking and choosing what parts of the law to respect, kind of like Christians do with the Bible. That actually explains why evangelicals like him so much, now that I think about it. Now that we've cleared up what the order did, let me get back to these cults. Now, let me clarify. I didn't do all this research to blindly call thousands of people cult members. That being said, a chronically online collection of my fellow black people called Foundational Black Americans is a trademark brand created by a serial scammer called Tariq Nasheed. Link up top if you want to watch the movie I made about all that. Just avoid the comment section. According to Nasheed's site, FBAs are descended from slaves on at least one parent's side, and he claims many are native to America since before the slave trade. They frequently refuse to claim their African ancestry, and they call most immigrants their own made-up slurs, like Tether. I'm as American as the new Cap, and they've done it to me for the last month, too. I try not to assume that people watching my videos have seen anything else I've done, so quick refresher on the finer points of my previous video. as well as some things I've thought about since releasing it. I've had some time to marinate. There's a very distinct difference between ADOS, or American Descendants of Slaves, and FBA. ADOS is basically a bunch of black people, like us, who believe they deserve reparations, which we do, and have two founders who are mostly left-leaning. However, one of them served on the board of a fake progressive organization called Progressives for Immigration Reform, which borrows heavily from the ideas of a white supremacist. Yes, I'm doubling down on that because I have proof. Here's a vet admitting that she was on the board, but if you attack them, you're attacking ADOS, and that you're aligned with white party leaders. Keep that in mind. They're called the Project for Immigration Reform now. Here's the promo video on their website.
The National Environmental Policy Act, known as NEPA, was signed by Republican President Richard Nixon in 1970. NEPA was official acknowledgement of America's decades of environmental abuse and neglect. It was the country's response, a national charter to protect our environment. But there is a blind spot with NEPA and the Endangered Species Act. When it comes to population growth and its impact on our environment, federal agencies operate as if they're exempt from NEPA and the Endangered Species Act. Even with historically high immigration-driven population growth since NEPA became law, no environmental impact study has been conducted by the Department of Homeland Security or its predecessor, the INS. When will it make sense to keep immigration policies in line with environmental and economic realities? Should there be a moratorium? A period of time where we can assess the impact of mass immigration? And while studies are being conducted, temporarily pause immigration until the impacts can be better understood and sound recommendations made.
That ad went on to directly ask Trump to put that pause on immigration in place. And obviously they're hiding behind this good old boy white Americana to appeal to people like, not me, but other people. And look, she might come out and say, I got fooled by the PFIR. I didn't know what they was doing. They sucked, so I left. She's never said anything to that effect, so I'm forced to believe that she was down with this once upon a time. I want to clear up some points people were mad about last time. No, ADOS itself is not backed by white supremacists. Yvette Carnell, the co-founder I'm talking about, mostly makes leftist content now. And she was a congressional aide on the left, so she mostly has throughout her career. Probably. I'm not putting an equal sign between her and FBAs, or their founder. Her prior alignment with anti-immigration organizations is problematic though. Antonio Moore, the one who didn't get coverage in my last video, wrote for the right-leaning publication Newsmax several times. But he's also written for HuffPost, Vice, Medium, Blavity, Newsweek, and many more. I've actually read some of his articles and didn't see anything suspect in them. I'm open to being corrected if any of y'all have seen something to the contrary. As a final piece to this convo, here's a tweet from Antonio himself that solidifies ADOS' position with regard to immigration and FBA. And I quote, I co-founded ADOS. He told y'all we don't seek affiliation with first-generation immigrants. I co-founded ADOS and we have welcomed them to support our movement. And we support their push for reparations via CARICOM. We had them as speakers at our conference. Umar just be rambling. Again, I co-founded ADOS and he's telling you about ADOS like we talked. I don't know that man. So where should that leave your trust in his other unsourced, often incorrect opinions framed as factual statements? Joe Budden, understand Umar has a style of speaking that leaves out citations but sounds factual because he forces it down your throat. Note, also we have no affiliation with FBA, but he was the one in hidden colors. Let me clear up some of the points that he's discussing there. Umar, or Dr. Umar, it's debatable whether he's a real doctor or not, but I covered that in my previous video as well, was talking in that clip.
Foundational Black American, just like American descendants of slaves, speaks to those of us who are the descendants of those who were enslaved in this land. They do not seek affiliation with necessarily with immigrants.
Oh, they don't seek
first generation Caribbean.
That's ADOS?
Yeah. ADOS,
some
FBA,
form, yeah.
They're largely the same.
Oh, okay.
In terms of vision, two different organizations, but the
premise,
the philosophy and the premise is largely.
So that's clearing up one piece. The other piece Antonio was referring to is the ADOS conference, which I also covered in my last video. So those are the two things he referred to that y'all might not know about. Let's keep going. FD recently shared a video by Jared Ball, aka I Mix What I Like, and it's about ADOS and their ties to white nationalism. I'm going to play a section of it. It's a really long video, but I'm going to play a section of it that's relevant to my argument here.
And we see the same thing happening with ADOS, where, as I'll show you in a minute with this new report or a new study, that as I've been arguing for a long time, they're carrying this very white conservative argument, again, wrapped in the language of Black freedom. Anti-immigration organization, the Center for Immigration Studies, founded by John Tanton.
John Tanton is that white supremacist I told y'all about earlier. The Center for Immigration Studies was founded by a white supremacist. Keep that in mind.
John Tanton in 1985 in Washington, D.C. figures somewhat prominently in the concerns of folks like the Southern Poverty Law Center and others who note the very white supremacist, nativist language, xenophobic language that has led the Southern Poverty Law Center to label CIS as an anti-immigrant hate group. Footnote 35 of this essay takes you to this video on the ADOS Advocacy Foundation YouTube channel. And you see here, they're on a panel with the Center for Immigration Studies. So this is who they're teamed up with. This is sort of the point I've been making all these years. This is who they want to build with. They don't want to build with those on their political left. They don't want to build with the Pan-African Black radical community. They don't want to build, with any progressive force, but they will sit with these folks. ADOS's adherence response to demographic shifts and changing economic conditions seems to support a version of replacement theory that holds that immigrants, especially those who arrived after 2000, are numerically replacing ADOS and diluting the group's economic and political power. All right. So up until the year 2000, Black America was chilling, doing well, had all the political and economic power and that could be desired. And then all these damn immigrants came here and messed it all up. That's the argument? That in 2000, we were on a trajectory to freedom. And then all these immigrants showed up and took all our jobs. They took our jobs!
I moved past ADOS in my last piece without clarifying enough differences between the organizations, because I was mostly focused on getting my point across about the fake progressive group thing that I had proof for. I apologize for that. In contrast, here's what FBA founder Tariq Nasheed thinks about non-native Black people. I'm just going to roll a clip from our previous episode to catch everybody up. Demeaning and exaggerated ways he's depicted immigrants as compared to how he depicts FBAs. Indian working at a gas station, bug-eyed Africans, dirty Africans, crazy Jamaicans, etc. And since we're talking about a lot more than just the founder of the group, and since many people who comment on the last video were telling me that Tariq is not us, he doesn't represent us, we're not like him, here's what FBAs think about immigrants and birthright citizenship. This is also a freeze frame from our previous video, and we're going to take the time to read through it. Okay, the first tweet says, Tether said we had no power. They thought the Black American vote didn't matter. Think again. Good luck to you. No more of the I was born here bullshit. This one in the bottom right says it'll go in front of the SCOTUS, the Supreme Court, and they'll end birthright citizenship. Good luck. Then the rest of these just say bye-bye tethers. I don't know if y'all hear yourselves, but any Black person that's leaning on this extremely conservative Supreme Court to flip any policy comes off sounding like Black MAGA. Is that just me? Am I crazy? A lot of FBAs voted for Trump or didn't vote at all at the urging of Tariq Nasheed and people like him. The reason they did that is because they claim that the Democratic Party has never done anything for them. But as I mentioned last time, in the process of them attacking Democrats and claiming people like me are Democrat shills, they don't criticize Republicans enough. And what the GOP is pulling off every day during this presidency, they actually seem to support most of the cruel and inhumane treatment of immigrants, from what I've seen. I left something out of my last video about FBA group leader Tariq Nasheed. He says it's not a group. He says he's not the leader, but he's lying. He frequently claims he isn't a Trump supporter, yet he's openly praised Trump more than once.
And as a lifetime member, I'm saying that the NABJ sat up there and let Donald Trump cook them. Donald Trump went up there and cooked them. they can sit here and try to spin this thing all they want to do, and they're trying to use these weak talking points. Oh, Donald Trump was rude to black women. Oh, he was so disrespectful to the black women's. That ain't gonna work. The dude came in and they were kind of hostile to him, and he called it out. And he said, hey, that was kind of rude. They were very hostile to him. You're supposed to, as journalists, you're supposed to be at least pretend to be neutral. You know what I'm saying? You're supposed to at least pretend to be neutral, just like Fox News. Yeah, they're biased, but at least they pretend to be neutral to a certain degree.
In what world is Fox News anything close to neutral? Take the cape off, bruh. It's not a good look. I've seen the entire interview Trump did with the NABJ, the National Association of Black Journalists, and this coincides with my point about Tariq hating women. Here's what he called rude.
I want to start by addressing the elephant in the room, sir. A lot of people did not think it was appropriate for you to be here today. You have pushed false claims about some of your rivals, from Nikki Haley to former President Barack Obama, saying that they were not born in the United States, which is not true. You have told 4 congresswomen of color who were American citizens to go back to where they came from. You have used words like animal and rabbit to describe black district attorneys. You've attacked black journalists, calling them a loser, saying the questions that they ask are, quote, stupid and racist. You've had dinner with a white supremacist at your Mar-a-Lago resort. So my question, sir, now that you are asking black supporters to vote for you, why should black voters trust you after you have used language like that?
Well, first of all, I don't think I've ever been asked a question in such a horrible manner, the first question. You don't even say, hello, how are you? Are you with ABC? Because I think they're a fake news network, a terrible network. And I think it's disgraceful that I came here in good spirit. I love the black population of this country. I've done so much for the black population of this country, including employment, including opportunity zones with Senator Tim Scott of South Carolina.
Donald Trump went up there and cooked them.
I don't think I need to over-explain this, but black men accusing black women of being aggressive whenever they put a little bit of bass in their voice is bullshit. It's always been bullshit. He's reinforcing white supremacist talking points that paint black women as aggressive caricatures of people. I can't co-sign that shit. And y'all shouldn't either. He's caping for Trump and he's caping for white supremacists. It makes perfect sense that somebody like Tariq Nasheed would praise a man for talking over a bunch of women and spouting a bunch of false nonsense. That's his entire MO. Tariq purposely left out several things when he was flying his Trump flag, though. He said several weird and insulting things to this black audience after calling out the rudeness.
I have been the best president for the black population since Abraham Lincoln. That's my answer.
Better than President Johnson, who signed the Voting Rights Act?
The Democrat Party is really the one that has the problem. I think they're radical on abortion because they're allowing abortion in the 9th month. They're allowing the death. They're allowing the death of a baby after the baby is born, based on the governor of Virginia. Based on are millions and millions of people that happen to be taking black jobs. You had the best.
What exactly is a black job, sir?
A black job is anybody that has a job. Invading, it's an invasion of millions of people, probably 15, 16, 17 million people. I have a feeling it's much more than that.
He has no tangible evidence that illegal immigration is affecting black employment negatively. He cites no reliable studies, depends on generalizations and what everybody sees, and completely makes up the 15 to 17 million number while claiming it's an invasion. An invasion is how we refer to the aliens from Independence Day. I can't believe y'all voted for this.
Donald Trump went up there and cooked them.
So that's strike one. And when it comes to black people defending Trump, you should only get one, but let's give him two to be generous. Here's where Tariq tried to misdirect the criticism Trump was getting for putting out a full-page ad to execute the Central Park Five. 5 black boys falsely accused of raping and murdering a white woman in New York in the 90s. Here, he tries to get everyone to look at the Democratic district attorney who charged them and locked them up instead. This is a classic case of whataboutism. A lot of people in my comments from the last video were doing the same thing. If you've never heard of it, it's when someone takes a situation where people are very fairly criticizing someone or something and tries to minimize the problem by saying, hey, what about this though? Kind of like when his followers were calling me Jamaican after listening to all his scams in my last video, instead of dealing with the facts. Again, he claims not to be a fan of Trump and often criticizes Trump. But at the end of the day, your support for someone really shows when their back is against the wall. And he's shown his true colors at least twice. FBAs claim their movement is bigger than Tariq. And maybe it is. But when this man is the foundation of it, and remains the loudest voice in the room, I don't believe you. Okay, so what do FBAs think about immigration? From what I've seen and researched, a lot of them supported Trump because of his anti-immigration policy. Others chose not to vote at all, citing the fact that they don't owe their votes to the Democratic Party. Given what we know about the black vote in the last election, namely that voters staying home made the most significant difference, I think it's fair to say that these attitudes expressed on social media had an impact. Not saying it's the only factor in making our current predicament happen. A common complaint among FBAs is that immigrants have never stood with them, and that many immigrants disparage them. I want to end this video addressing that directly. Obviously, many immigrants who've been drowned in pro-white and anti-black propaganda for years before coming here had and have negative perceptions about us. In my last video, I interviewed Foreign Man in a Foreign Land, a Bahamian with American citizenship, who explained why very succinctly. He said that it takes some time for immigrants to understand why Native Black Americans are struggling economically and seem to move so differently from the white people they've been taught to admire by Western media. The expressions of either disdain or condescension that FBAs love to lock in on are likely coming from those still struggling through that ignorance. As for Native Black Americans, or FBAs, the one thing y'all gotta acknowledge is that we're not these innocent victims either. By and large, we're a very religious people, which means we're a very conservative people. Conservative isn't just a name on a political party, it means being resistant to change. We're extremely homophobic as a whole, sexist, pro-life, poorly educated as a whole, even though black women are especially killing it in that department. And yes, we can be very xenophobic. Most of that is a result of being in this patriarchal nightmare of a country for centuries with a lot of chattel slavery seasoning on top, but it is what it is. The hurt has gone both ways, and the mature move is to focus on reconciliation as opposed to keeping the fight going. Based on my experience after the last episode, a lot of y'all got a long way to go. Listen to this quote and tell me who it sounds like. If you experience racism directed at you and your family and everyone who looks like you, you might also be attracted to a confrontational practice that intentionally insults those who you perceive to be insulting you. That was from a CNN article quoting Jacob Dorman, an academic who studied American Black Israelite religions. Yeah, I thought it was about FBAs too. It's a perfect fit. In all the research I've done, it's become painfully obvious that people like Tariq Nasheed and his acolytes have given Native American Black people an enemy to focus on and made them feel justified for venting their frustration in that direction. Next time, we'll discuss the Black Hebrew Israelites and their many, many controversial stances. Hopefully, we can shed some light on what makes them stand outside yelling at us all the time. Appreciate y'all watching as always. I just got back from vacation. Hopefully I look like I got a nice tan. As always, shout out to my Patreon supporters and channel members. Y'all the only reason I'm able to do this consistently and do the research and take my time and make these videos what they deserve to be. Shout out to everybody who leaves comments, whether that's encouraging, whether it's clarifying, whether it's correcting me in pretty harsh language sometimes. Y'all are the reason I'm able to be as sharp as I am, be on point like this, and continue to deliver top-notch research, etc. That's all I got. I'll catch y'all next time.